All right, happy Wednesday. Hopefully you all have this worksheet. It is your test review. Included on this test, there's 3 things that you're going to be taking this test over on Friday. We have evaluate expressions, solving the 1-step equations, solving 2-step equations. That's the 3 components that you're going to have on your test on Friday. Hopefully you guys got all of your papers back that you've turned in so far. All the grades should be up to date as of when I left school Thursday night, or Tuesday night, excuse me. So everything is up to date. Everything is ready to go. You should have all of that back. Any late work or missing work or corrections or anything like that that you want to still do, all of that has to be turned in by the time you start your test on Friday. So once we take the test on Friday, no other corrections, no other late work, no other missing work will be accepted. So make sure you get everything turned in by the test on Friday. You have everything back to you. You can check Power School, see what you're missing, and get that stuff cleaned up, taken care of, turned in, so that your grade isn't suffering because you have some missing assignments. You might also check the no-name wall over there by the calculators, because there are a couple of no-name papers over on the wall. If you think you've turned something in, or you might check that over there. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go through these 3 components. Like I said, this test that you're going to be taking on Friday has 3 components: evaluating expressions, solving 1-step equations, solving 2-step equations. And I'm just going to go through one example of each one of those components, and then you guys are going to have the rest of class today to work on this test review. And if you get it done, you can check it. I've left answer keys with the substitute and with enough extra copies for all the paras and all the co-teachers to have them. So after you get done, if you want to check your work, have one of them check it, make sure you're on the right track with it, getting ready for your test. The test on Friday will be exactly like this. The only thing that is different is instead of having 26 problems, I think it has 14 problems on it, or 16 problems on it. It is cut down by quite a bit. So test is exact same format, exact same setup, just fewer problems. Now, these expressions and the numbers that you substitute in, these are going to be slightly different on the test. They're not going to be exactly the same thing, but same format. The first part of the test is going to be evaluating expressions. The second part of the test is going to be solving 1-step equations. And then the next part of the test is going to be solving 2-step equations. So same format, same setup as this test review. And remember, you can use this test review on your test. So it is to your advantage to do it. Make sure you have it checked, that you have done them correctly, as a way to study and prepare, but also then so that when you take your test, if you forget or you need to go back and refresh your memory on something, you have that test review to go back and look at. And also don't forget, you get to use your notes as well. So lots of different ways that you can make sure you are prepared for your test. So let's dive right in here and get going. 3 quick examples, and then you guys have the rest of the time to work on this. So taking a look at this, we're just going to go through number 1 right here together. Get this refocused. Now remember, when it says to evaluate, that means you're substituting numbers in for these variables. You're substituting numbers in, and then you're just doing the math. Evaluate, if you remember in our notes, that means do the math. We're just doing the math problem. So over here, you'll notice on the right-hand side, it says use y equals 1. And it also says to use z is equal to 4. And I would encourage you guys, especially if this is a little bit foreign or you don't remember this or you struggle with this a little bit, use highlighters. Remember, there's highlighters underneath the calculators on that little shelf over there. Everywhere we see a z, we're going to put in a 4. Everywhere we see a y, we're going to put in a 1. So highlighters help focus your attention on the right part and where the numbers go. So here in this first z, we're going to put a 4. And remember, I told you, at least in the initial step, I encourage you to put it in parentheses, especially if there's negative numbers involved in this. One of the biggest mistakes that a lot of you still make is with your signs, positives and negatives. So putting it in parentheses helps make sure you keep the signs with it. This one's pretty straightforward, so we're going to add another z to it. And then we're going to add another y to it, and the y is 1 in this case. That's kind of confusing there. Let me fix that. So this problem turns from z plus y into 4 plus 4 plus 1. Okay, and then we use PEMDAS, our order of operations. To do the math. And we're going to do anything in parentheses first. As I look in these parentheses, is there any math to do in this parenthesis? No math to do, no math to do, no math to do. So there's nothing inside of parentheses. Now, remember, as we get to a problem like this, there is going to be something you have to do first inside of the parentheses. So that's what we're talking about of math inside of the parentheses. Up here, there is not any math inside of these parentheses. So then we're going to go to the next level. Exponents, there's no exponents in this one. And I don't think there's any exponents on the test either. I think I left that off for this, so we won't have to worry about exponents. And then we get to multiplication and division. And remember, with multiplication and division, we work from left to right. It's not all multiplication first and then all division. It goes from left to right because these are the same level. This one does not have any multiplication. It has addition. And so addition and subtraction work the same way. We work from left to right. So we're going to do the leftmost addition first. 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. So now we have 8 here with that 4 plus 4. And we're going to take and add 1 to that now. 8 plus 1 is 9. And that's my solution. So when I substituted these numbers in, I do the math. That's what it means to evaluate. Do the math. I did the math and I got 9. So the answer to this expression is 9. Okay, so that's going to be those first 6 problems on that front page. Is just substituting in and doing the math. And I'm going to caution you guys here on this one down here on number 5. I'm going to help you out with one thing and then also caution you. The one thing to help you out, you see where this says negative 2 divided by 2 right here? I want you guys to go ahead and put that in parentheses. It's going to make this a little bit easier for you guys to follow and work through that. So we're going to do this negative 2 divided by 2 first. Get that number and then do the rest of this. So that's my little tip for you to help you out with that. And then remember, especially because this is a negative, this is one where it's going to cause a problem. Here where we have this minus x. This negative on the x is not the same as the negative on the 2. So this is going to look like this. So I'm not going to do all the problem over here for you. But over here, the very end of it is going to look like negative. And then in the parentheses, I'm going to have a negative 2. Be careful with that. Remember, the signs, you've got to be very, very careful of your signs. So what happens when I have two negatives make a positive? In the end, this part here is going to turn into a plus 2. Think about this. Beware of this. Hint, hint. Especially your positives and negatives. A lot of you guys still really struggle with that. So slow down. Think about those negatives. Pay attention to the signs. Be careful with that. Okay, so that's the front page. Evaluating all those expressions on the front page. On the test, I think there are 2 problems where you have to do this, evaluating expressions like this. Okay, so practice that. Make sure you're good with that. Turn the page. Next, we have the directions just say solving the equation. Oh, come on, focus. There we go. Solve the equation. Now, remember, when it says solve the equation, we're trying to get the variable by itself. Get the variable all by itself. So we've got to get rid of all the numbers. Okay, and I'm going to go through these same series of questions that we've used all along. What am I solving for here? As we look at this first example here, what am I solving for? I'm solving for n. So I can ignore the other side of this equation. I don't care about the 4 over there. I'm solving for n. That's question 1. Question 2, what do I got to get rid of? I got to get rid of the 17. Question 3 is what operation is going on between that n and the 17? What operation is going on between those 2 things? We're looking at this line right here. Remember that line means division. So there's division going on, and then we say what is the inverse or opposite of division? The inverse or opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 17. And then finally, what I do to one side, I got to remember I got to do that to the other side. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to multiply by 17. I'm going to scribble through the 7 just so you don't get confused by that. So multiplying both sides of this equation by 17 to undo this division by 17. Over here on the left-hand side, taking 17 times 4, I'm going to get 68. And then over here on the right-hand side, remember we put this over 1. On top, n times 17, we get 17n. And on bottom, we get 17 times 1, which is 17. Now, right here, there are a bunch of you, not just one or two, but a bunch of you that are thinking, oh, we still see this division, so I need to come over here and put another division symbol. Stop. Stop doing that. We undid the division by multiplying. Now we just need to simplify this. We did not write this divide by 17, so we're not dividing both sides by 17. That's not what the math we did. The math that we did was we multiplied by 17. We multiplied by 17 up here. That's what we did to both sides. This divide by 17 is not something we're doing on both sides. I still see a lot of you thinking you do that. Divide both sides by 17. Don't. We're not doing that on this one. The math we did was undoing by multiplying. Now we just need to simplify. What is 17 divided by 17? That is 1n. So we get 68 equals 1n. And remember, since it's 1n, that's the same thing as just saying n. So we get n equals 68. And you'll notice, remember that I switched the order, put the n on the left and the number on the right, n on the left, number on the right, so that it looks a little bit more like what you're used to seeing. Okay, so beware of this. A lot of you guys are making a mistake right here. You may even want to put a star next to this so that it reminds you that you need to pay attention to that. Okay, so everything on this page, as we look through this whole page, everything on this page is solving one-step equations. All of those are one-step problems. Okay, turn over to the very back page here. There's still a few more one-step equations. This top two, 15 and 16, are still one-step equations. So I want you guys to look at 17. Looking at 17 here, we're going to look at this problem and work through it. I had a student ask me the other day, and it was a great question. I was so happy somebody asked it. He said, Mr. McNaney, how do I know the difference between a one-step equation and a two-step equation? It all goes back to question number 2. So question number 1, as we look at this, is what am I solving for? I'm solving for P. And question number 2 then says, what do I got to get rid of? So if I'm solving for P, what do I got to get rid of? I got to get rid of this -2, and I also have to get rid of that -7. I have 2 things that I have to get rid of. I have to get rid of the -2 and the 7. So that's why it's a 2-step equation. I'm getting rid of 2 numbers, 2 steps. Up here, I only have to get rid of the 20, so that's only going to be a 1-step equation because I'm only getting rid of 1 number. 1 number, 1 step. 2 numbers, 2-step. Okay, now, when we get ready to go to 2-step equations, we got to undo the subtraction or the addition first. We go in the reverse order. Remember PEMDAS, we go in the backwards order when we're solving. So we go SADMEP. We're going to undo this subtraction first by adding 7 to both sides. -7 plus 7, that becomes 0. So this is -2p equals 32. We got rid of the 7. Okay, and it's now like we almost start our questions all over again. What am I solving for? I'm solving for P. What do I got to get rid of? I've got to get rid of that -2. Now here's where another place where I'm still seeing a lot of you that are making a mistake because you're not thinking. You're just looking and doing and not slowing down to think. What operation is going on between that -2 and the P? And I've told a lot of you guys, if you need to remember this and you keep forgetting it, go ahead and write it out as a multiplication problem like this. When a number is right next to a variable, that's multiplication. If you need to write it like this for now until you really get that down, write it like this. So I am undoing this multiplication. A lot of you see the negative and think it's automatically addition. Okay, you got to know what's going on between the variable and the number. Between the -2 and the p is a multiplication problem. The contrast of that would be this. What operation is going on between the p and the 2? What thing is in between those two? In between them is a subtraction problem. So if this was the problem, we would add. But that's not what's going on between these numbers over here. In between the numbers over here is multiplication. So we are going to undo the division, we're going to undo the multiplication using division, not addition. So I'm going to undo this multiplication by dividing both sides by a -2. And here we get a -2 divided by a -2 is a positive 1p. And then on the other side we have 32 divided by a -2 is a -16. So we get p equals -16. Now, just like I've said a number of times just a minute ago, I can't fix this, guys. You guys have to fix this yourself. A lot of you are still just completely ignoring a negative. And you don't even think that that matters until you get down here and you only divide by a 2 instead of the -2. And you get the answer wrong because it should be a negative and you get a positive, or it's a positive and you get a negative, vice versa, whatever. You guys, I can't fix that. You have to slow down and understand that negatives are important. You can't just ignore them. Beware of that. A lot of you are still making a mistake with negatives. All right, turn over to the very back page. There is one more problem that I want you to take a look at because a lot of you are making mistakes on a problem like this. So turn over to the back and look at number 24. Hopefully you all are back there on the back page now at number 24. As we get ready to solve this, we're going to go through our questions. What am I solving for? I'm solving for n. What do I got to get rid of? I've got to get rid of this 4, and I've also got to get rid of this -4. So which one am I going to get rid of first? I'm going to get rid of this first 4 because it's addition or subtraction. Now, here's where a lot of you are making a mistake. You see this negative, and you think you're going to undo this negative by adding. If I add 4, what is 4 plus 4? 4 plus 4 is not 0. By adding 4 right here, this does not get rid of it. You cannot look at the after the number. You have to look before the number. I've said this 1,000 times this year probably already. You can't look after. The right side person in the car doesn't drive the car, so the right side sign doesn't drive the 4. The left side drives the car. The left of the number drives it. This is a positive 4 right here. So how do I undo? If you need to put a little plus sign there, put a little plus sign there. How do I undo a plus 4? I'm going to subtract 4. I'm telling you guys this right now. There is going to be a problem like this on the test. I have emphasized this and emphasized this and emphasized this, so you better bet that that's going to be on the test. So to get rid of this 4, we're going to subtract 4 from both sides of the equation. A positive 4 and a -4 is 0. So now I have left -4n is equal to 68. And here's another place. I saw this probably 50 times in the 90 homework assignments that I graded the other day. You guys just ignore this negative sign. This negative is tied to that 4. I see people do this all the time. They don't bring the negative down. I'm trying to warn you guys of all these silly little mistakes that you all keep making because you don't pay attention to the signs. Be careful. Pay attention to the signs. Bring the -4 down, bring the negative down with the 4. Now we kind of start all over. What am I solving for? I'm solving for n. What do I got to get rid of? I've got to get rid of the -4. What operation is this? Again, if you need to, write a multiplication sign there so you remember this is -4 times n. So I'm undoing the multiplication. I'm going to divide both sides by a -4. -4 divided by -4 is a 1n. And then over here, 68 divided by a -4 is a -17. And so my final answer, n equals -17. Okay? All right. Now you have the rest of class to go do the rest of this. Again, there are answer keys here, so check your work. Make sure you're getting the right answer. Have the teacher check your answers. Make sure you're on the right track. And test will be on Friday. If you get stuck or have questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, we'll see you all on Friday.